So that's the background to his work. Now about the work. Okay, so we went to Europe. So we landed in Poland. We went to the camps and we had my laptop and we had the song and we turned the song on and I quickly said to the kids, okay Dad, we have to dance. It was really difficult because as Dad was the only one really that got the idea really quickly. Because I said to Dad, I have this idea, I want us to dance to life. I want to dance as a tribute to life, a tribute to celebrate your survival, the generation you made, survival, the generation after that, survival, our survival as people, and all human beings' survival. And he got it. He said, yes, wonderful idea. And he picked up the steps really quickly. He was not a problem. I think a couple of my other kids were a problem. They were a bit more emotional. They found it quite difficult suddenly, being in Auschwitz and this very depressing sight, and then suddenly having to do this dance to a pop song. And we had a few fights, but I won. and they did it. I just want to say also that this work it's my personal history, and it's my personal response to my personal history. Everybody has their own response to their own history, but it's not just, for me it's not just my Jewish history or a Jewish history, it's a universal message for all people, because not just Jews were persecuted. At Auschwitz there were blacks, gays, gypsies, political activists, there were lots of people. Exactly. Everybody out of that little square was not good and had to die. So basically my work is, for the whole world and for all of us for people to actually reflect on what happens when you think in a certain way, and what happens when you start to say, this person is like this and maybe he's not so good, or you don't like him because of how he is, and to be categorised him like that. And I think, so I want my work to actually make us a bit more reflective on how we view ourselves and others and the whole world, because I know that we all fall into the trap. I think it's human nature to differentiate, and I do it all the time, and so that's how I know it's so difficult. And so that was really important. Trying to think okay, so I'll just go around and explain the work a bit. This picture, Art Must Go On Even After Auschwitz, was a quote from a very well-known philosopher called Theodor Adorno. He was really upset after the war because a lot of his close friends who were Jewish had been killed or had committed suicide, like Walter Benjamin and people like these very well-known philosophers have really hit it today, but they did. Straight after the war, he said a quote that became quite well-known, and it was, "Poetry after Auschwitz is barbaric." And what he meant by that was that anything that is art, poetry, opera, beauty, anything beautiful and creative is barbaric compared, because there were these horrific things happening, people were massively exterminated, and yet close by people were going to the opera and were reading beautiful novels about beauty and love. And he said, how can that be? How can you have that such extreme happenings on this earth? But anyway, about 20 years later, he retracted that comment and he said, art must go on, even after Auschwitz. And what he meant by that, which is sort of, you can understand, is that in spite of horrific things happening, in spite of us as human beings creating horrific things, and being part of that whole process of terrible things, art must still go on, because through art we can express our feelings on important issues. And I guess my work is an example of art must go on even after Auschwitz, because my work is art and it's going on, and it's actually commenting on this past. This video over there is it's just a short clip which I took out of the dancing video clips that my father had filmed all his life, but it's actually not at their home. It's in a forest outside Melbourne, and I think I chose it because it informed this work, and it shows me as a little girl dancing with my parents and their friends, and all these people are survivors, so it would have been, 15 years after the war, and they're dancing. I don't think there was any music in the forest there, but they're just dancing to life, and they just grabbed life by the neck, and they just took every opportunity to celebrate life. And so that really must have influenced me, because I grew up with that. Crazy parents dancing in the forest to no music. But on the other hand, or at the same time, there was this dancing, but there also was this sort of, this darkness, this shadow of something from the past. Like, where were my grandparents, and where were my aunties and uncles and cousins? And slowly I realised there was this place called Auschwitz. And so I combined these two influences of my life, dancing and Auschwitz, and this is what the project is called, Dancing Auschwitz. And then there's this little video, which is, I call it the documentary, and it's snippets of our conversations when we went on the trip. And my son asks his grandfather, how can you smile? How can you smile being here? We're all sort of heavy-hearted, and you're smiling. And he kept saying, Dad kept saying, yes, it's true, my family was killed, this and that, but you know what? Life goes on, and I'm so happy today that I'm here with my grandchildren. Who would believe it? And also in the video, I things again, thoughts that were in my mind. I said to my mum, she didn't come with us, she didn't want to come with us, she found it too emotional. So when we came back to Melbourne, I said to her, Mum, if you had your choice again, would you be Jewish? And her answer was, I can't answer that question. So even that answer is quite a big answer in itself, that life is a struggle sometimes. As a Jew, sometimes, of course it's great, sometimes it's not, but whatever, that was her personal answer. And there's other snippets.
Jane, you want to just talk about how it went viral,
the
reaction to the...
That was so important. Yeah, in fact, the more important than the work I found these days is the response and how it went viral. So, as artists do, they often put their works on the internet, and I put actually all three on the internet. Soon after, I was getting a flood of hate mail. Fuck you, Jew, fuck your mother, Jew, fuck the kids, we're going to go dancing in Gaza, or like, very horrific, much more horrific than that, emails. Your father should be gassed, how come he wasn't gassed, and I said, what's happening here? I was unaware of what was happening. I didn't understand. So I realised obviously that there were responses from YouTube. I went into YouTube and I found out that my work had been posted on neo-Nazi sites, stormtrooper, Ku Klux Klan sites, white supremacist sites, all around the world.